السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف خلق الله سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Welcome. We're very happy to start our day today. Today is going to be an amazing day. We're having a lot of activities, inshallah. And you as our audience are going to be the most important to us, inshallah. One of the things that I want you to do is part of what we do in HemmaTech. We have the HemmaTech clap. So it's all of us clapping at the same time. It gives us energy, it gives us power, and it gives us that we're all one. So I want you to help me, and we'll do the exercise, doing the clap together. Are you ready? Are you ready? Yes. So I'll count 1, 2, 3, and we're going to clap all together at the same time. Okay? Yalla, let's do it. 1, 2, 3. Amazing. One clap. So what we're going to do today is move you through the chances of what experiences is going to be through a number of interactive sessions. We are going to make the best out of technology. I know some of you may had started using the QR code that you've seen all around. That gives you the calendar and the type of experience of what's the information that you need to know about the sessions coming in. But also what we're going to do is use another tool, which is Slido. And if you see on the side screens, you can go to this website using your mobile, just a simple mobile access. So I hope everyone has his mobile, right? So we're one of those events that don't tell you to shut down your mobile. We want you to interact using your mobile because we're in a digital age, and this is not a mobile, this is you. It's an extension of who you are and an extension of your digital twin. So everyone has a digital twin. Online, you have a twin over there. So we want your digital twin to interact through Slido. So if you use, everyone has his mobile. Can everyone take it out? Up, 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 up. Yes, yes. Oh, everyone has a mobile. If someone doesn't have a mobile, I'm willing to give him my mobile to use it. So go to Slido. So it's slido.com. It will ask for a code. The code is what you see, the 3 3s. And what you'll do is you can start putting questions there. And through those questions, everyone who likes a question that someone put a like on it. The highest likes will be the questions that we will answer. So it's the democracy of questions of our digital twins. So this becomes a very interesting interactive way. We will have also polls coming up, some questions when the analyst from Gartner would join us. And you will have also a chance to put your opinion. Your opinion is very important to us. So I mentioned Gartner. How many of you know Gartner? A company, very well known. Gartner is an independent research company. They're a listed company in the stock market. Their stock symbol is IT. And this company moved from predicting the future into creating the future. In IT, they set the standards. They're putting up a lot of information and insight, and they're very independent to give us that chance to understand. And we're very honored today to have 2 of our analysts from Gartner. And unfortunately, they had some challenges to come to Kuwait. One of them lost his luggage, but there's no problem always. So what we've done, amazingly, in his hotel, there was a tailor, and he managed to make him a dish dasha in only 3 hours. But it cost us 30 KD. But it's amazingly fast, so it was good. So we localized him wearing the dish dasha. You'll see him now wearing a dish dasha because, when you're in Rome, you do what the Romans do, right? So our other analyst, unfortunately, he lost his voice this morning. But that never stops us, right? That's where we are. We have the energy, we have the power, and we do a lot of things here. So we're living a time where creating the customer experience is a very important thing, especially in the world of digital. And we're going to go through some of the things that will make you understand what choices do we have and how powerful is digital making that experience happen. And I hope all of us can contribute and manage to, give us their experience, their opinion, come up with the questions, and that becomes very important. What you've seen on the screen, and it's very important, is our culture, having coffee, giving to our guests is the experience. And what we did in the Della, we made it a digital connected one. And what is pouring in is the data into the mug, and that's an artificial intelligence. But we don't swim in data, we're serving on data using artificial intelligence. So that's the story of our image that we created. What we're also going through an agenda today. So we have the first session going to be conducted by Jim, by only sitting here because his voice is not here with us. But Mr. Lee is going to really help him out on stage. So that's part of the collaboration between us. So the first session will take you through the superior customer experience. The second session will be creating the new customer experience with AI. And we then will take you through very interesting stories around the local stories. And stories are very important for us. Our culture make a lot of value out of the experiences, and stories inspire us. So we have very important organizations here in Kuwait that really can inspire and really can uplift our spirit. And the stories they will share with us will make that possible. And that's possible because, we need these type of stories. These type of stories will give us a chance to really, put hope in a lot of things that we have. And we have Bobyan Bank going to get us through their story. We have the Civil Information Authority. We have also the story from the education, one of the leading universities here in Kuwait, Kuwait College of Science and Technology. And also we have one of our leading new data scientists. It's a field that is very important to know about and to understand what are the chances that are important for us. We're going to have an award for these individuals, as we did for last year. Also, then we would talk about the future players. So we have Zain talking about what they're planning to do, and also one of the fintech Kuwaiti leading organizations. They would take us through their experience and an amazing story they have for us. And you've seen maybe the interaction through the QR code. We urge you to interact with the audience here. Once you go in, once you register, you can actually see people. You can directly connect with them using this QR code. It's all around us, and you'll find it very satisfying to have that type of relationship with people that you get to know in these activities. At the end, we'll be launching a new site called Kuwait.ai, and we would like you to be our founding members to this site. And this would give us a chance to start a community around artificial intelligence and build around this type of activity. So by this, I'll start by inviting our guest speakers from Gartner. Oops. He's trying his dishdasha, so he's very new to it.
Thank you. Would you like to say hello? Would you like to say hello?
Yeah. If you want to say hello, maybe you need to stick to the microphone a little bit.
I'm not going to say many words, so my voice is gone, but kindly, Adrian is going to give a shortened version of my presentation. But I'm Jim Davies. I'm a research director at Gartner, and I've been with Gartner for 19 years now. And if anyone does have any questions they'd like to ask, if my voice isn't up for it today, I'm more than happy to schedule a call and have a follow-up conversation with you. So thank you. Enjoy the day.
This is your presentation.
No. This one. Okay. This is connected.
Okay.
This is connected. Good morning. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Adrian, and I'm very proud to be here today. Thank you very much for the invitation from HemmaTech, and thank you for your attendance. My name is Adrian. I'm based in Gartner, Singapore. Now, part of what I do is very simple. I help businesses do only 4 things. I help them plan, I help them build, I help them launch, and I also help them manage the software services and hardware products that they're coming up with. A lot of the work that I do is about advising forward-thinking technology providers in terms of how they can provide the best user experience, the best customer experience, no matter what kind of product or no matter what kind of service that they come up with. So my job, I'm pretty fortunate. I get to help from startup technology companies up to governments and also our Fortune 500 clients that we have. Now today, unfortunately, my colleague Jim is a bit under the weather. He lost his voice, I lost my luggage, but I think I look great in this. So what we're going to share with you is actually 5 very simple steps for you to create a customer experience strategy. Now this is not something that Jim or I just came up with. This is what Gartner gets after talking to thousands upon thousands of our clients, listening to what their problems are, what their strategies are, and then putting the right tools, techniques, and methods into play. So without further ado, I'm going to launch straight into this. But because we are actually playing something interesting today, we're going to use that Slido that Jessam just spoke about just now. A very simple question for the audience here today. Do you right now have a dedicated customer experience function in your organization? Please put in your answers. I would like to see what the response is in Kuwait. So we have 75 responses, and almost 2/3 of the audience say yes, they have a customer experience team or a customer experience function in their organization. Now, why is this important? Customer experience is a great part of customer experience is what results at the end of what you as an organization does, be it from sales, customer service, marketing, operations, production, manufacturing. Every function within your organization is involved in this process. Now, the reason why this is interesting is because while 2/3 of the audience have a customer experience function, I bet a lot of them don't know there's more than 5 different kinds of customer experience hierarchy that's available right now. Now, moving from number 1, the functional leader. This is the most common function. This is the most common hierarchy that you will see. Generally, customer experience is assigned to the CMOs. CMO, you're the Chief Marketing Officer. You design what the customer experience should look like. Now, where this is actually very, very common, 44% of the global organizations that we speak to actually have this structure, they actually report to the CEO of the organization. Now, whether this is good or bad is not necessarily very clear, because also the next part we see is number 2, where we have decentralized leads. Remember, we spoke about sales, customer service, marketing, all these different functions. In the decentralized leads model, the heads of all these different functions contribute upwards to creating a customer experience. The next one that we'll see here is the hybrid. So you will still have your CMO, and you still have the functional leads of these different teams as well. So this is actually also the second most common hierarchy type that we find in global organizations. And then if you see on the far left side, you see the CX influencer. This is where you have one person within the organization pushing, evangelizing, promoting what the customer experience should be like. And this we'll see in about 11% of organizations globally. And then finally, the Tiger Team. Why do we call them the Tiger Team? These are small groups of leaders within an organization, and they're typically a steering committee. Whether they actually are able to realistically impact customer experience remains yet to be seen. So, while 2/3 of you have customer experience functions in your organizations, can you think for a minute which of these different types of CX hierarchy you have within your customer experience organization? Now you'll notice in the bottom left corner we have a little bit of a branding from CEB. Now CEB was recently acquired by Gartner because it allows us to actually expand our coverage beyond just technology, also to the business and commercial functions as well. Within CEB, we offer advice on how team structures should be set up and what are the best ways to actually develop the professionals within your team. So, without further ado, I'm moving on to the second poll question. We are here today to talk about customer experience. So, by 2019, which is just 1 year away, think about it. How many companies will want to compete on the basis of offering a better, superior customer experience? Please put in your numbers there. So the choices are less than 25%, 25 to 50%, 50 to 75, or more than that. So this actually speaks to the importance of customer experience design within organizations today. Gartner on its own has actually done its own survey. So let's see if your answers match what's happening globally.
It's moving like a stock market.
It's moving like a stock market, absolutely. Fantastic. Now, I won't keep you guys in suspense. I'll share with you what the results are right now. Now, to share with you a bit more on what we did here. This survey was done at the end of 2017. Gartner for marketing leaders actually conducted a survey among all the top CMOs and all the top marketing leaders in the world, and the result was this. 81% of these marketing leaders think that they will be able to provide a better customer experience in order to have a competitive advantage. Now, what is interesting is this. If you look at the B2B organizations, traditionally you think, well, I'm business to business, why am I so interested about customer experience? What we do see is a growing importance of customer experience being a competitive advantage for these B2B organizations. The surprising part is in the B2C organizations, that percentage is actually pretty flat, pretty constant, because B2C organizations traditionally have always been having customer experience at the heart of what they do. Now, the big surprise here, B2B organizations are slowly waking up to the importance of customer experience and how important it is for them to gain an advantage over their competitors. I promise you 5 steps to creating a customer experience strategy. Actually, Jim normally spends about an hour to tell you this, so I'm trying to summarize this very quickly for you, just so that you guys can take away the best of the content that Jim had to offer. So there are 5 steps here. Number 1, set up or get a seat on a cross-enterprise customer experience council. What is a customer experience council? Remember earlier on, we spoke about the 5 different customer experience hierarchy types. That is actually the loose formation of what this council might look like. Number 2, how do we actually provide a customer experience project portfolio? Customer experience is not about doing one thing. It's about doing multiple projects that builds up to form what the eventual customer experience your end customers actually get. Number 3, how do we get all these great insights? This is where we help you source a VOC, a voice of customer solution, that will help you absorb all this great data, all these great customer insights in order for you to build the great customer experience. Finally, you have all this data. What do you do with it? You need to be able to express it and manifest it. And this is where we help you look at what the customer experience metrics dashboard could look like. What are the factors that you need to pay attention to? How does that then impact your business? And then finally, we'll show you how you can actually push in innovative new technology into your customer experience projects. But this is a big reminder here. You need to get the basics right first. And we'll show you how afterwards. So, you've seen the different types of customer experience hierarchies available to you. Now, when we talk about creating a customer experience council, this is a driving team, a driving organization that actually propels the objective of you creating your customer experience. Starting from the top left, we have centralized customer experience teams. This is probably similar to what we saw just now, where you have the CMOs and all these functional heads, that hybrid organization, remember? Now, these guys often have enterprise vision. They know what's good for the great organization. The one big part you have to pay attention to here is they actually suffer from the fact that they have actually lower budget control. So they don't actually have the ability to exercise all these projects immediately. The second one we look at here is the departmental managers. Now, while I always love my sales, marketing, and customer service colleagues, the one thing is important. If you let them lead the customer experience, they see the customer experience from their point of view. I see it from customer service, I see it from marketing, or I see it from sales. Hence, that view is what we call very blinkered. Again, because of the budgets that are allowed to them, the impact on the entire enterprise or the entire organization is limited. Now, moving to the right-hand side, this is very interesting. From the CEO-driven type of council, which is where the business leader, he believes that he needs to actually improve the customer experience. That is where you get access to greater budgets. That's where you get access to a greater vision, a more complete vision of what that customer experience should be like. And then last but not least, brands or product managers. We have guests today from the telcos, from different technology service providers as well. They will be more familiar with this. You will normally have heads of products or product managers within your organizations. If they were the ones who were tasked to do the customer experience, they will, again, only see it from their point of view, their product line or their service line. But they might have access to a greater budget, so the impact on the customer experience could be more powerful as well. So if you do not have a customer experience council as of now within your organization, beware of where you sit on this hierarchy, number one. Think about the type of organization. We spoke about it, the functional leaders, the CX influencer-driven, the hybrid types of organizations. This will give you a good idea of the eventual customer experience team that you can form within your organization if you don't have one. Well, the 1/3 of people that don't have one. Now, the second step here is this. Great. We've now formed the team, and we now want to create a great customer experience, outcome. Now, part of creating all these customer experiences is that you run different projects along the way to build the whole overall customer experience up. Now, one big failing that we see again and again with international organizations, they think about customer experience along the axis of productivity. How it helps me in my organization, how it improves my experience when I serve customers. That productivity, although it's great, they often neglect the other part at the bottom. The horizontal axis here talks about customer experience. Now, in a situation where there's a high churn of customers, again, I use the telco experience because telcos are currently undergoing this experience, is that they have to fight harder to keep their customers. So the retention of these customers is always based on the customer experience delivered. You might want to think about doing projects that sit in this quadrant that actually satisfies the customer experience, but might not actually mean greater revenues for you immediately, or might not mean easier productivity for you immediately. Now, what happens? Is there anyone from the public sector, the government sector here? Now, what's interesting is this. When we talk about, When we talk about the public service sector, we actually had this interesting question from another client in Dubai yesterday. He goes, well, our citizens cannot leave. So whatever services we provide them, they have to take it. That's the customer service that they have. That's the customer experience that they get. And that is actually very true. In essence, what most government public sector officers do is they actually focus very much on the high productivity CX projects. How do they aggregate citizen data? How do they actually distribute citizen services? And they sometimes neglect the customer experience part of it. Where we want all you organizations to end up at is at the top right. High productivity, great customer experience, and this normally starts from a couple of different projects. One of the key trends that we've seen is that the younger generation of today like to do self-service. They don't want to call someone, they don't want to wait online for a customer service agent to help them. They like to do self-service. This also speaks to why chatbots becoming increasingly common and increasingly popular as well. They want to be able to find and discover this information on their own. So that's high customer experience here. Is it high productivity for the organization? Well, actually, yes it is. Because it removes the amount of human agents that have to sit in a call center to answer these questions. Very often, these questions are repetitive and common. So a simple project here could be putting in a customer service chatbot. Now, if you look at all these different examples here, this is just an example of what an organization's technology portfolio could look like. Go away, sit with your customer experience council. You design your technology portfolio for your customer experience, and let's see what that looked like. So remember, two things here. They should be high productivity for you, for your organization, and they should also provide the highest or best customer experience. Don't neglect that. Now, this slide is going to take a lot of work, so stay with me here. Now, in Gartner, we've spoken to thousands of clients across the world, across different verticals, across different industries. Now, this ended up with thousands upon thousands of customer experience projects in different areas. So what Jim's team in the customer experience team did is they actually synthesized what was the best key learnings from all these thousands of different customer experience projects. And what they realized is there were 7 main kinds of customer experience projects that were actually there. Number 1, listen, think, do. 2, from out to in, act as one. Open up, get personal, alter attitudes, and design better. So let me unpack this for you slowly. If you look at, on the far left side, listen, think, do. This is a critical part of customer experience projects. How do you actually realize, how do you actually know what the the customers are thinking? I don't care whether you're speaking to a B2B audience or B2C audience. How do you actually find out what they're actually thinking? So this is 3 main classes of projects here. One about collecting feedback. Once you collect the feedback, what do you do with it? You need to analyze it and find out what are the insights, what are the relationships. So the second class of projects will be under how you analyze the opinions. And then finally, once you have this customer data, once you know what they're thinking, you can think about starting a conversation with them. Why? This is about setting expectations. To give you a very simple example, the Singapore Smart Nation project is one of the key projects that the Singaporean government is driving. Now, under that, they have a Smart Nations project team. Now, the Smart Nations project team, before embarking or deciding on which of these projects will actually help Singaporean citizens, actually did one of the biggest online surveys ever in Singapore, collecting and crowdsourcing what Singaporean citizens actually wanted. Now, actually, what they collected versus what their vision was completely different. Because the Smart Nation project team was thinking about doing autonomous cars. They were thinking about doing surveillance and drones in the sky. That actually wasn't what the Singaporean citizens wanted. The results of the survey was actually quite simple. Singaporean citizens wanted to talk to the government agencies. We speak to so many agencies, they feel frustrated because they can't contact them as well. So I'll tell you a bit more about this in the next presentation afterwards, so I'm keeping it for later. But starting a conversation, this is expectation setting for your customers. Number 2, from out to in. Excuse me. Now, very typically what happens is this. If you run a business, you create a business process that fits you as the business leader, that fits you as the team leader, because this process is what's easier or more convenient for your organization. Now, in customer experience design, we're flipping that model around. It's from out to in. We actually have to, after collecting all the data from the customers, use those insights to craft and redesign new processes. Now, this sounds difficult, and it rightfully is, because organizations have their own momentum and inertia as well. They tend to run business or do things in a pretty similar way. So this part is normally the painful part. How do you find the moments of truth with your customers? The aha moment where you go, great, that is exactly what I'll do to improve that customer experience that I deliver. It might force you to reinvent and rethink the way you currently do things. But this is about great customer experience design. From out to in is about using the data, the smart data that you collected in order to build the new business processes that can deliver this great customer experience. Number 3, act as one. Now, this is a typical problem for a lot of organizations. If I go to your website and I look at your company, if I go to your app and I use your company's services, if I go into your company's store and I speak to a salesperson, that experience normally is very disjointed and very fragmented. Now, this is a problem that global organizations are trying to overcome when they talk about acting as one. You are a business person, but you are also a personal consumer. When you encounter a brand, don't you get irritated when the website doesn't work the same as the app, doesn't work the same as the person standing in the store? The thing about acting as one is unifying all these customer experiences, is being contextually aware. If I started a conversation with your company on your website and I forget about it, and I go onto my phone and I started talking about it on the app, you should know where I stopped there and where I left off and carry that same information to the next channel. In the similar manner, when I walk into your store after that, the salesperson better know where my conversation ended, where I started on web to app to store. So that's about acting as one, orchestrating all these great points, orchestrating all these great touch points for the customers to get that single one view. Now, the other part here is opening up. We spoke about this a bit earlier on as well, about how the younger generation of consumers that we actually surveyed want to have the ability to self-serve. They want to be able to solve their own problems. They want to discover the information. Now, this is very typical when you see a consumer electronics company. Right now, they put all this great technical information in the presentation. But customers don't want to see that. They want to see what's cool about it. They want to see what's the key features in that particular product. Now, if they want to go one step further, how are they able to discover this? That's where the self-service component comes in. If I buy the latest iPhone X, for example, I already know what it is. It's a phone. It's got a nice screen. It sends messages. But if it breaks, if something doesn't work, what are the channels for me to contact? Wait, do I contact Apple? Do I contact the telco operator? Who do I speak to? So that is about self-service, enabling those channels for discovery. Now, this is a very important part, especially in light of the new EU regulations on GDPR. The world is getting a bit distrustful and mistrusting of big brands and what big brands do with their data. Very often, you get consumers who go, well, I don't mind sharing the data because it gives me access to free service. You do that on Facebook, on Instagram, on Google every single day. but you also inherently trust those organizations to protect your data. Wouldn't you be scared if Google just said, yeah, I'm opening up my data to like 10,000 companies so they can see exactly what you searched for, where you were, what you were listening to? Actually, that did happen. Anyone remembers Cambridge Analytica and Facebook? So that didn't happen too long ago. So you need to be able, as an organization, as a key part of your customer experience, be able to demonstrate that you are trustable, you are a trusted company, and that you handle your customers' data honestly and with integrity. And then to keep you honest, I always like to say this, to keep you honest, how do you encourage participation? Your customers need to be able to talk to you. It cannot be from a single source. Now, this I get very often as well. With our device manufacturer, our device providers, they always go, our salespeople are always complaining about the devices or the products that we sell. And my response to them is very simple. Why are you only listening to the salespeople? Why aren't you listening to the customers themselves when they actually encounter or experience your product? Why don't you talk to your customer service people in order to find out what the customers are saying to them? Why are you only listening to the salespeople? So this is one area here where you want to encourage participation. You want to actually build communities. One of the big examples here I can give you is actually the OnePlus smartphone that was launched by a smaller Chinese smartphone manufacturer. Now, their only claim to fame is that they actually created a social network where their fans were talking to the product designers, asking for the features that they wanted in their phone. They were asking for apps that they want included in the phone. They were actually telling the product designers what kind of user experience they wanted in that particular phone. So this is a good example of how you can build communities here in order to actually create that much better product, that much better user experience. Now, we move on to get personal. Get personal does not mean that the users can play around, put different colors, different fonts on your digital products or their apps. That's customization of the user interface. When we say get personal here, you've already done that step in the beginning. You've heard about the customer. You're actually building that into your process. Get personal is about how you can actually personalize the messaging, the product, to the particular individual. Any one of you get a lot of spam emails? Yep. Do they all start with, dear Mr., put your name in, or dear Miss, put your name in, and then the message that follows after that is exactly the same? In the next presentation I'll show you now, I'll show you how you can create that mail to actually speak about what you've actually encountered, what you've actually seen. And we'll show you how some companies are actually making more effective email campaigns because they're actually giving to the customers information that is relevant and unique to them. You're talking about a customer experience now that has to be relevant to the user. We'll show you how to do this in the next presentation. Now, you can do all this great stuff. Go and understand your customers, get all this data, but you have a team to run. You have a company to run. So how do you actually empower your employees to do the same as well? And this is a big question for a lot of customer experience leaders. They go, I know the vision. We have the tools. We have the data. But my team doesn't get it, or our staff doesn't get it, or some function doesn't get it. Now, this talks to you about how you empower the employees. How do you actually train them on different aspects of customer experience? The good part about having a lot of customer data is how you share that same data with different functions. To give you an example about this is that all this data that you collected, I like this Disney example that you shared the other day. Anyone's been to Disneyland? Yeah? You enjoyed it? Loved it? Now, the great thing about Disney parks is the interaction, the ability to meet Snow White, Mickey Mouse, all these great characters. Do you know that Disneyland actually has an algorithm that shows how much interactions each of those characters have with the guests. And if a lot of the guests are interacting with a particular character, they'll send out more mascots dressed as the other characters so they can get different kinds of interactions. So this always ensures that your customer experience in a Disneyland theme park, you get to meet everybody in the Disney cast. Now to go one step further as well, when we talk about customer experience, you will think, hey, it's Disneyland. I had great food, I saw the shows, I spoke to Mickey Mouse. I must have had a great experience, right? But Disneyland went one step further. What happened was this. Of all the negative customer complaints that they got from Disneyland visitors, they started realizing something. It doesn't matter whether they had great food, saw good shows, or spoke to their favorite character. One of the key things that actually made people angry or frustrated with the whole Disney experience, guess what? Lines? Actually not that. It's something you won't think about. There you go. Well done, sir. You read the Gartner research. One of the key parts that Disney visitors were unhappy with was the fact about parking and not being able to get into their cars. So what happens is, oh, we had a great time, but the thing that they remember the most when they fill in their customer experience survey was the fact that I couldn't start the car, or I lost my keys in Disneyland, or, well, the car broke down because it was sitting there for the whole day. I couldn't get it going, or my kids are crying. The whole parking experience was really, really bad. Now, Disneyland, technically, if you step out of the gate, the experience should stop there. What Disney did was one step further. What they did was actually send out mechanics and assistants into the car parks. So when you get in, somebody's there looking after you. But after you had your fun in the Disney theme park, as you're going out as well, if you're facing mechanical problems, Disneyland actually provides you with mechanics to fix your car and get you happily on the way. Now that is a great example of what customer experience is. Thinking about where you collect the data, how you change your business process. In this case, they had to hire mechanics. Why does Disneyland need car park mechanics, right? And this is how they actually alter attitudes as well. They recruited differently. They started profiling the guys who would be most suitable to deliver this customer experience. The same Disney experience as well. Do you know that the mascots are not allowed to talk, right? But the way that they act, their movements, and that's how well they've profiled it. Snow White in Disney Tokyo is the same as Snow White in Disney Anaheim. So that's the kind of profiling that they do so well, that they can deliver that same consistent customer experience no matter where you are in the world. Now, we spoke so much about it. I'm going to end it off quite quickly now. At the end of all this, it's about how you design better. How you design better projects, how you design better products, services, and experiences. The one key part here is this. We often forget about the brand values and promise. A lot of the businesses that we speak to go, oh no, my competition is lowering the price. I'm going to compete with them on that. There's a reason why brand values and promises are important. When we speak about the iconic brands that we have in our heads, it's very simple to recall what their brand values are, what they stand for, what they deliver. Brands like Apple, brands like Disney, for example, brands like Nikes that I'm wearing, all these are different brands that are iconic because they always consistently execute on their brand values. Now, you have to make sure that this brand values is a big exercise, has to be across the entire organization, and you have to maintain that reputation. Anyone remember the Senate hearings for Mark Zuckerberg in the light of the Cambridge Analytica hearings? The one thing that was the most key to me was not about how technical his responses or how evasive Mark Zuckerberg was. One thing that was very clear for me was how Mark Zuckerberg was completely different from what the Facebook brand is supposed to be. He was sitting there like a bit of a, well, he looked like an Android robot, So how is that personable? How is that intimate? How is that connecting with people? It's completely disconnected from what the Facebook brand was about. So that was the one thing that jumped out at me. So brand values and promise, how do you execute that brand in terms of a consistency? These are the 7 things that we want to talk about when you talk about a CX technology project portfolio. So you have your technology portfolio, you decided on your projects. Now, let me help you think about how do you collect all this, data points as well. We spoke about data. Data is the lifeblood of artificial intelligence projects and will be for the foreseeable future for any digital business. The customer data is critical. When we look at the left-hand side, what happens in most early days or less mature organizations is that they do analytical voice of customer data collection. It could be marketing, collecting data from its campaigns. It could be customer service, only collecting data from the customer service, happy, unhappy calls. But it's very siloed, and it only gets to a couple of people in the organization. We want to prevent that. In order to drive a better customer experience, you want to move towards what's operational voice of customer. This is where you actually want to drive that same great data that you collected across different functions within the organization as well. Jim gives a great example. You familiar with the Ford F-150 truck? This is the top-selling vehicle in the US. Do you know what the product manager for Ford F-150 does every day when he goes into work? He doesn't answer his emails. He doesn't reply phone calls. What he does is he actually opens up his dashboard, and there is actually a 3D model of the F-150 truck with lighted areas on certain parts of the truck to show where the customer responses or customer actions were actually recorded. So for example, on that truck, if the bumper was flashing red, he can click into it and see actually what the main problems are, not just in production, but also what the customers say about the particular part of the truck. It could be it's rusting or it's falling off, I don't know. But that's what it allows him to do. So he doesn't see one view of his product. As a product manager, remember what I said? They're very blinkered. He gets to see also what marketing says about it. He gets to see what the customer service guys are saying about it. This is how that great data that you collect in one area is shared to everyone in the organization. This is true operational voice of customers, that you use this same data to empower and make more intelligent your team so that they know better how to handle what the customer experience outcome should be. So gone are the days of the customer service team are always the people with the longest faces because they hear all the bad things about the company or the service. So let's help them be a bit happier and share it with the rest of the organization as well. But at the same time, think about it. The great things that you do in marketing, for example, or in sales, all those great parts need to go to the rest of the functions as well for them to understand why a particular product, for example, is selling really well. And that is, coming back to the point, this is about operational voice of customers. And some of the vendors that actually help to enable this in a digital environment, guys like Medallia, guys like Merit or Qualtrics, they build great dashboards and build great tools to enable you to do that. Okay, I promise you, this is the last busy slide you're going to see now. We spoke so much about the customer experience. Now, how do we drive the customer experience? Right from the foundation of employee engagement to the quality, customer satisfaction, loyalty, and brand advocacy as well. There are different metrics for each of these aspects. Now, we spoke to billion-dollar companies as well. The typical billion-dollar technology company has no less than 50 of this customer experience metrics that they are tracking on a regular basis. But I'm not saying look at every single thing because it will help you do nothing. What we are suggesting here is in each of these buckets, employee engagement, the quality of the product, customer satisfaction, loyalty, and brand reputation. There are different sets of metrics that you can use that can affect different parts of the outcome. What you want to do here is apply different weightages to these different areas depending on where your pain points are. So it's not saying that you need to look at every single thing, but understand how to weigh all these different components in order to drive that one consistent KPI for your organization. Now, having said that, I want to bring up one point as well. We spoke a lot about the tools, the technology, the customer understanding. This is one area, employee engagement, that normally gets ignored. You can't run a great customer experience project if you keep losing staff. You can't run a great customer experience project if your staff don't even show up to work. So this is one area that most people normally think, oh, it's an HR thing. I'm not caring about this. I'm a CEO, I don't need to care whether people show up for work or not. You do. The employee engagement is crucial to driving your customer experience. And this is often a neglected area. Your employee satisfaction surveys, pay attention to them. If that satisfaction score is sliding down, guess what? Your customer experience scores will not go up because your employees help you deliver that customer experience. So, ladies and gentlemen, the 5 areas to look at: employee engagement, the quality of your product or service, customer satisfaction as you measure it now, and then you have the loyalty and churn, and finally, once you get all this right, you will then create true brand advocates. People who will actually do your marketing for you without you paying them. That's what brand advocates are. That you love a product so much that you will promote it and suggest it to everyone else. Now I want to leave you with this last one. We spoke about using innovation in driving what customer experience is. I love my car example, so I'm going to use cars as an example. Now, what you get here is this slide from a Japanese academic, a gentleman named Noriaki Kanu. Now, he came up with this conceptualization of what the great product will look like. Let's use an example of a car, because I love driving. So if I were to buy a new car right now, what will help me increase my customer satisfaction, or what will make me really dissatisfied? It depends on whether the product works, is fully functional, or it doesn't work and is dysfunctional, right? It's pretty simple. So I should always aim to have this performance satisfied. I should always build in products into the car or build in features into the car that makes me more and more satisfied, right? Actually, it's not true. If you're talking about a car, there are certain things that cannot fail. There are certain things that must work. Otherwise, the whole product falls apart. Can you guess what? The brakes on the car. So I don't care how fancy your car is. If the brakes don't work, it's not a good car. So the functionality of the brakes component in a car has to be there. And if it doesn't work one time, guess what? The customer is going to be really dissatisfied. Or in this case, the customer could be dead. Now, then you have the opposite side of things. What are the things that you can put into a product to make it really that might not be so functional, but really drives satisfaction for the user? For example, something like an in-car entertainment or in-car Wi-Fi connection. We actually got to experience that in Jessam's car just now. We were stuck on the highway, and he goes, I got in-car Wi-Fi. I'm like, cool. We could surf the internet, be on social media. Now, that's great. But guess what? If Jessam's in-car Wi-Fi failed, I wouldn't be that dissatisfied because the product, the car, still pretty much works. Hence, think about what kind of product functionality you want to build in and what kind of customer satisfaction that they gain out of it. In a simple product like a car, you might build in fancy features like in-car Wi-Fi and entertainment, but guess what? If the brakes don't work, it's a horrible car. So think about this when you're applying your thinking in terms of developing services or developing products. There's always room for innovation in terms of delivering great customer experiences or great user experiences for all your products. And we've just given you the 5 steps to creating a customer experience strategy. So in the next presentation that I'm going to share with you, we're going to talk about how you apply artificial intelligence to drive this customer experience. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you. Jim and I thank you. Thank you.
We have some questions. You can see on the screen here.
Sure.
Some of the questions that was being voted.
Yep.
So you can choose.
I think related to the second one might be to this session, and the third question and the fourth question. And we leave the first questions to your session, the next session for artificial intelligence.
Sure.
So how can UX, user experience, be measured? There's another better question to start with is what is the difference between user experience and customer experience?
Aha, let me take that one first. What do you think is the difference between user experience and customer experience? Customer experience is the sum of all the different user experiences that you get. Now, a user experience occurs at a touch point. For example, who do we have today? Bubian Bank, for example. They have different touch points. They might have a mobile app, they might have an ATM machine, they might have a website, and they'll have a physical branch. A user experience at each of those touch points is limited to that product. So my user experience at a branch could be 1. My user experience on Bubian Bank's app could be number 2. And when you sum all this up, this is that overall customer experience we're talking about. It's never that one part. The user experience is a component of it. User experience is a collection of all these different user experiences across different touch points. So that's the difference between UX and CX. So when we talk about UX, it's very product-focused, touch-point focused. CX is the overall experience that a customer will go through with your organization.
And do you measure?
Stick to the microphone.
I would also add that the customer experience looks at all 5 senses. So if you have someone who comes to your house to fix your TV, if they have all the stains from their breakfast down the front of their shirt, that's a poor experience. If they arrive late, it's a poor experience. But that's not UX. So you have to think about CX in terms of every single aspect of the relationship you have with your customers. And it's far more than just what happens to them when they visit your website or use your app.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you. I know that was a very painful experience also for you to speak out. So how do you measure user experience? That was a question on that.
Now, having had that conversation just now user experience again applies to different aspects of the different touch points. Carrying on with my bank example, one of the measures of user experience could be just pure usage. So you think about it, the number of ATM users around the world is actually dropping. Why is that? Digital payments are coming in. Peer-to-peer payment platforms are being available. So people actually going to an ATM to draw money is actually declining slowly as well. Now, isn't that a measure of your user experience? On that ATM. Now, if you think about apps, for example, very common usage measures are number of downloads, number of uninstalls, and also the ratings on the app as well. So you can build a great Bubian Bank mobile app, and you might have, like, let's say, 1 million downloads. But if everyone rates it 5 points, is it more worthwhile than another bank's app where there are only 10 downloads and everyone rates it 5 points? So that gives you a good measure, a good metric in terms of how you think about user experience on that particular touch point. Understand, ladies and gentlemen, user experience is touch point focus. Customer experience is the collective, the aggregated view.
And if you see the last question on the screen, so he's getting used to the dashes a little of a challenge.
Do you think CX?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll try. The problem we're facing in the world is that increasingly it's more and more difficult to actually compete based on functionality. Because time goes on, your products, your services are the same as your competitors. So if you can't compete based on functionality, you have to turn to the customer experience as the means for differentiation. And that's what we see happening. So yes, if your product is dramatically superior than your competitors, you don't need CX. But the chances are, in 2-3 years' time, your competitors will have the same functionality.
Thank you very
So
much.
just to kind of add on to that, what Jim was saying as well, is that the functionality of a product, like in Mr. Noriaki Kanu's example, is that most cars will satisfy that product functionality axis, remember? But the user experience is going to be very different. If you buy a Ferrari versus if you buy an F-150 truck, the user experience is very different, even though those are all both motor vehicles. The functionality is largely the same. The customer experience, if you buy an F-150 truck versus a Ferrari, is very different as well, because all these functions and touch points come into play. How Ferrari sales act is very different from how Ford sales act. How Ferrari customer service is very different from how Ford customer service is. This is where the customer experience becomes essential to differentiating your product, to giving you that extra edge. Yeah.
Good. So let's do the energy clap, the HemmaTech clap. Ready? Yalla, 1, 2, 3.
Amazing. So we're having a break now. There's an area outside that has all the services. We'll have a 30-minute break, and then we're coming back to enjoy artificial intelligence. Good?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We leave this mic here.